Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Networking Your Way to Success. In collaboration with Progress Career Planning Institute, PCPI, today's webinar is brought to you by West Global Talent Bridge. This session will be hosted by me, Shauna Marie Kerr, as well as myself, Sarah Hua. Joining us for a brief introduction is Chanel Linton, the facilitator and information specialist at PCPI, who will tell us a little bit about the services and programs they offer. For those of you who haven't joined us before, West Global Talent Bridge is a program of World Education Services that is dedicated to helping skilled immigrants fully utilize their talents and education in the United States and Canada. We offer webinars, Pathways to Success seminars, e-newsletters, networking events, and program referrals. To ensure you don't miss out on any of these events or resources, be sure to subscribe at west.org/ca/subscribe. Now we'll pass it over to PCPI for a brief word on their services. Chanel, we're so happy to have you here today sharing some programs and services that will help our audience succeed in Canada.
Thank you so much. Progress Career Planning Institute is a not-for-profit organization whose mission is building communities by empowering people to pursue their potential. PCPI is committed to assisting people in reaching their employment goals. You may decide to go back to school to train for a new career or become certified in your existing field, maybe starting a business or getting back to work as soon as possible. Whatever you decide, PCPI can assist you with planning and achieving these goals, and we've been doing so successfully for over 20 years. We offer employment programs and services that speak directly to today's labor market, providing a system that ensures our clients are highly marketable and prepared for any future challenges they may experience. We offer one-on-one job coach search assistance with an assigned career coach, employment workshops, we have a resource center, and access to government programs like job matching and placement, second career, and the youth job link. Please visit our website at www.pcpi.ca to see a complete list of services in our workshops and events calendar for more information.
Thanks so much for sharing that information, Chanel. PCPI certainly has a lot to offer. For our first polling question, we would like to know if you attended PCPI's IEP event conference this year. The conference was held in March and featured a variety of presenters and industry professionals. While everyone's completing that poll, let's go over today's agenda. There are 4 parts to this webinar. First, we'll be defining what networking is and why it is important. Next, we'll share some specific examples on how to make the most of your networking opportunities. We'll also introduce a program called Professional Immigrant Networks, or PINs, and how this association can help you in achieving your career goals. Finally, we'll answer some of the questions that have been submitted throughout the webinar in the chat feature. Thank you everyone for submitting their answers. So approximately half of you had actually attended the IEP conference. So this will be very useful as we run through some examples later. Okay, so now I think it's a good time to move into our first segment. What is networking? The definition you see comes from an author by the name of Devorah Zak, who wrote a book called Networking for People Who Hate Networking. So the title of the book may sound funny, but the definition provides some great insight into what networking is all about. Devorah says, networking is building meaningful, lasting, mutually beneficial relationships one person at a time. Let's let that sink in a little bit. Networking is building meaningful, lasting, mutually beneficial relationships one person at a time. Networking needs to be meaningful because the goal isn't to network with everyone and anyone. You want to network with people who can provide value to your career and make connections that are relevant to your goals. Networking needs to be lasting because you'll have to invest both time and effort to build and develop the relationship. Networking isn't about getting someone's business card and then never speaking again. You need to follow up, check in, and stay present in their mind and professional networking. Networking is about relationships that are mutually beneficial because it is a give and take relationship. It's not one-sided. You shouldn't think about networking as connecting with someone to use all of their experience, skills, and connections. You should think about how you might be able to add value to their career and their goals as well. The goal of networking is to build relationships and then nurture those relationships to continually expand your professional network. It is about building a circle of people who support and encourage you in achieving your career goals and being part of those circles for other people. Opportunities to make professional connections, also known as networking, occur in a variety of places and spaces. Networking can be formal or informal and can be done online or in person. Let's look at some examples to give you a better idea of what we mean. Networking in a formal setting often occurs in career development events, career fairs, conferences, or meetings at professional associations. For example, if you are an engineer and the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, which is an association, has put together an employment event. This is an opportunity for you to connect with employers in your industry as well as other engineers who you may end up working with in the future. This type of networking event is considered formal because it was planned and there was a specific purpose. Networking can also happen in informal settings. For example, if you're attending a social event and start a conversation with someone who you learn is in your industry or in your line of work, that could be an example of informal networking. By exchanging information and talking a little bit about yourself and your current projects, you've just added one more professional contact to your network, even though you're not in a professional setting. In addition to classifying networking as formal or informal, we can also think about networking as being in person or online. Both of our previous examples of formal and informal networking were in person, but networking can also be done online. Online networking can occur through LinkedIn, Facebook, Eventbrite, Meetup.com, or even in the comment section of industry websites and blogs. Sometimes the online networking you engage in can lead to an in-person meeting. It is important to note that the platform you are using can determine whether you are engaging in formal or informal networking. For example, LinkedIn is a formal, career-driven online platform to be used only for professional purposes. Meetup.com is an informal platform where people connect based on common interests like sports or hobbies. So whether your connections are made in person, online, formal, or informal, when you are networking, it's important to keep in mind that you are connecting with people in hopes of developing a relationship that will help both of you learn and grow and increase your career success. Networking is not always about immediate outcomes or a job offer. It's about building relationships and increasing your professional network to contribute to your industry as well as your career. So we've covered a lot about networking. Now let's talk about why networking is so important and what are the actual benefits. One distinct benefit of networking is that it is a way for you to connect with the hidden job market. If you have a large network of cultivated and nurtured professional relationships, you have a circle of people who would be more likely to let you know about job opportunities that match your skills and interests. In a best-case scenario, one of your contacts may even refer you for a role or provide a recommendation on your behalf to one of your colleagues. Networking is also about learning more about your industry from experts, as well as your colleagues. The more knowledge you have, the more prepared you will be when that perfect role comes along. In addition to the support and knowledge you gain through your professional network, networking also indirectly improves your communication skills. By attending events, talking to people, and composing messages and emails as part of your follow-up and outreach, you are exercising the skills necessary to succeed in any workplace. All of this helps to build your confidence and your ability to promote yourself, leading to that perfect position as a candidate in waiting. That was quite a bit of information we've covered. So let's open up our next poll. We hope you're paying attention. So what is the goal of networking? Is it A, personal and professional development, B, increasing your knowledge about your field, C, building relationships, D, making others aware of your job search, or E, all of the above? We'll give you a few seconds to answer that poll. So while we are waiting for everyone's response, Let's have a look at some do's and don'ts of networking. So first impressions. You only get one chance at this, so you better make it count. Whether you're going for an interview or attending a networking event, you want to dress for success. This means dressing your best and making a positive impression. So we have these two images on your screen right now. The do image is on the left-hand side and the don't is on your right. When looking at these images side by side, do you get a different impression from each? Our model, Shireen, who is the female, and Jeremy is the male. In the don't image, you can see that Jeremy looks very untidy with his wrinkly shirt, loose tie, and even the running shoes he's wearing. With Shireen, her dress is a bit too short for an office setting, and the slipper-style sandals make her overall appearance unprofessional. We've all heard not to judge a book by its cover, but the reality is that appearance does speak for us before we speak for ourselves. As an employer, I might get the impression that Jeremy doesn't pay attention to detail and that Shireen can't distinguish between professional and personal. I don't think I would want either representing my company with clients or other partners. In the do image, you can see that both Jeremy and Shireen look tidy, polished, and very professional, making a positive first impression. Shireen's skirt is at knee length, with a closed-toe shoe giving a more polished look. Jeremy has put on a blazer or a jacket, tightened his tie, and is wearing dress shoes, which sharpen his overall appearance. So in the next slide, Jeremy and Shireen are back, but with slightly different outfits. Again, it's pretty clear when these examples are side by side, you do not get the same impression. The do image on your left is significantly more positive than the don't image on your right. In the don't image, you see that neither Jeremy nor Shireen have tucked in their shirts, which are also wrinkly. Again, their casual footwear wouldn't be appropriate for an interview or networking event. In the do image, both Jeremy and Shireen have put on a blazer, they've tucked in their shirts, and chosen more formal footwear, making our first impressions very positive. What you wear says a lot about how you view yourself, and also the level of respect you are showing to the people around you. The choice of attire does depend on what industry you're in, but because you only get one first impression, it's almost always better to dress more professionally rather than not professionally enough. Moving on, our next example of networking is when you are starting a conversation at an industry event or perhaps even a career fair. The events are usually great learning opportunities and chances for you to connect and network with important people in your industry. You should never start a conversation by asking for something or with a request. Take a minute to inquire about the other person's experience and organization, showing that you're interested in learning more. These types of professional events are also not appropriate places to share overly personal information. For example, talking about your professional history is completely acceptable, but you should never share information that might make someone else uncomfortable. For example, saying, "Hi, I'm Sandy from Austria, and I'm a single mother who needs to support her kids because my husband is back home. I'm all alone here and I really need to find a job. This is your organization. How can you help me find a job?" A better approach is to start a conversation trying to learn more, making decisions based on the new information, and following up with additional questions. So for example, a do conversation could be, "Hi, my name is Sandy. It's really nice to meet you. Can you tell me more about your organization?" So this approach is friendlier, shows that you're taking initiative on decision making, and also makes people comfortable in interacting with you and potentially helping you achieve your career goals. Body language. This is another important subject to networking. Of course, this is more relevant in an in-person scenario. So once again, our models Jeremy and Shireen are back to show us what not to do. In any in-person setting, you want to ensure that you are approachable. So crossing your arms and closing off your body like Jeremy has done makes you look intimidating, deters people from approaching you, let alone wanting to start a conversation. So you want to ensure that your body language is open and inviting so you can maximize your networking opportunities and your future job prospects. Once you start a conversation with someone, make sure you are fully engaged with the person with whom you are networking. In this image, you'll notice Jeremy is trying to have a conversation with Shireen. However, Shireen is paying more attention to her phone than what is happening in front of her. Not only is this rude, But this also tells Jeremy that she's not very interested in what he is saying and might be an indicator that it's time to network with someone else. Who knows what connections, information, or opportunities both Shireen and Jeremy have missed out on. Once Shireen puts down her phone, she appears to be more engaged in their conversation. But at this point, Shireen seems so engaged that she has stepped too close to Jeremy, invading his personal space and making him feel uncomfortable. This is evident as he is leaning back, trying to put more space between them. It's important to respect people's space while networking. Different cultures may have different comfort zones when engaging in conversation. So, make sure to also be attentive to the body language of the person you're speaking with. Are they leaning back? Do they have an uncomfortable facial expression? If so, adjust yourself. As a general rule, give people about 1 arm's length of space when engaging in conversation. So we hope you haven't forgot about our polling question from earlier. So the polling question was, what is the goal of networking? Our options were A, personal and professional development, B, increase knowledge about your field, C, build relationships, D, make others aware of your job search, or E, all of the above. So the correct answer is E, all of the above, which most of you got it right. So it seems like networking isn't as confusing as it might initially seem. So the next section of the webinar will discuss 2 different scenarios to help you better prepare for networking opportunities and maximize your professional network. The first scenario revolves around attending a networking event. Let's move forward to see what next steps should be taken after you've left an event. As per the polling question earlier, half of you had attended the IEP conference. This is a great example to use as we go through our first scenario. We'd like to know what actions or next steps you took after this event. After attending an event, think about what took place, what you learned, and who you met. For example, reflecting on the IEP conference, what was on the agenda? What were the keynote speeches about? Did you attend any of the sector-specific sessions or visit any interesting exhibitor booths? Who did you connect with? And was there an interesting conversation that you wanted to learn more about? Did you give or collect business cards? Are there any professional associations or other groups that you had decided to join as a result of this event? After you've answered all of those questions for yourself, it's time to put some of your thoughts into action and connect with some of the people you may have follow-up questions for. You can connect by using an online professional networking platform like LinkedIn, or send them an email if you have their address. So starting with LinkedIn, we strongly encourage you to make a profile and start building your page if you haven't done so already. Being active on LinkedIn is essential to allow recruiters and employers to find you. It's about maximizing your opportunities. Having an online presence is essential in today's job market. Once you are on LinkedIn, you need to make sure you have a professional profile picture. A good profile picture is an online version of a first impression. And of course, we always want to make a positive one. The don't image is on the right-hand side of your screen, and it's an example of what not to do. The filter is very distracting. There are sunglasses covering her face, and there are other people in the background. So your profile picture should accurately reflect what you look like, especially to people who have already met you in person. In the do image example, you can see that the photo is clear, you can see her entire face, and you can see that she is wearing a professional outfit. The profile picture gives a positive first impression and seems like someone you would want to meet in person. In the process of connecting with the specific people you've identified, whether you are using LinkedIn or email, make sure your message indicates where you met them and the purpose of your connection. Be clear and to the point. An example we have for a don't message is, Dear Sir, I am looking for a job in IT. I have over 10 years experience in senior positions. I have a family with 2 kids and need a job. Please help me. God bless you. Kasim. A few things here. Using sir or ma'am is very impersonal, especially if this is a person you've already met and whose name you know. Depending on the conversation you had, you can use their first name or Mr. or Ms. and their last name. Asking for a job right away ignores the purpose of networking, which we discussed earlier. Networking is about building meaningful, lasting, mutually beneficial relationships, not just getting a job. Additionally, asking someone who might not even be a hiring manager or work in that organization's HR department shows that you have not done your research and aren't aware of the proper process for applying for a position. In this message, Kasim also gets into personal details about his life that do not need to be shared. Mentioning that he has a family and children and thus needs a job appears to be desperate. Any reference of religion or spirituality should also be left out of a professional message. This don't message also fails to remind the receiver that you have already met and perhaps discussed about connecting further. Most people would see this message and treat it as junk mail. Another approach, or a better approach that we would recommend, is in our do example, and it reads, "Hi Jamie, I attended the IT panelist presentation at the IEP conference and thought the points you shared were excellent. I was wondering if we could connect over coffee next week to follow up with additional questions I had. Looking forward to hearing from you. Best regards, Kasim." So this message is good because it addresses a specific person, making it personal. It also reminds them of where you met, which was at the IEP conference, as well as why you would like to connect. The follow-up is very clear and a time frame was given. So that was meeting up for coffee for some time next week. Lastly, Kasim provided a phone number, giving Jamie different options to connect. Once you have connected, make sure you nurture the relationship by staying connected. This is done by continuing the conversation. It is a mutually beneficial relationship. So make sure you take the time and effort to build that relationship through things as simple as sending a congratulatory message for a promotion or a successful work project, or by sending articles that may be of interest to them. Practicing these activities is a great way to build relationships. Additionally, this is a good way to stay relevant and on their mind. If this person becomes aware of a job opportunity within their network that might be of interest to you, they'll think of you first. So after attending events, make sure you get connected and stay connected. In the next networking scenario, we'll discuss how to prepare when you know you will be attending an upcoming event. So this is very relevant to everyone who is listening to our webinar today, because PCPI will be hosting their 15th annual IEP conference in 2018, and we all know you should be there. Let's look at some specific examples of how you can prepare. So research, research, research. For example, you can visit the IEP conference website, look at their agenda, learn who's speaking, who is attending, and think about who you want to connect with. So on this PowerPoint is an example of the 2017 program schedule. As you can see, it's a snapshot of the details for the day, including names of speakers. As you saw in the program schedule, there was a list of speakers for the day. You can further research those speakers to learn more about their career history and how they got to their current role. Tools like Google's search engine and LinkedIn are great ways to start your research about particular people. At this point, depending on your goals and the questions you formulated while researching, you can decide whether you'd like to connect with them before the event or at the event itself. An advantage in connecting prior to the event is that you'll be able to schedule a meeting at the event. For example, if I saw that Chanel will be presenting on a panel at the conference, I could send her a message prior to the IEP conference asking that we set a time to meet, maybe over one of the lunch breaks or networking time slots. An advantage to connecting at and then after the event is that you can see who is speaking, attend their presentation, take notes and write down questions that can be used to follow up later. At the event, you can introduce yourself and get a business card so that you can reach out afterwards. So whether you plan on connecting before, at, or after an event, LinkedIn is a great way to learn more about a particular person and their professional journey. So in the search bar, you would just type in the person's name. Additionally, you could use Google's search engine and type in the person's name to see what things, associations, or even events that they have attended or belong to, as well as any publications that they may have written. You can also use LinkedIn to research particular organizations or companies you're interested in and see if they have any job postings or if they will be present at the events you are attending. An elevator pitch should also be prepared and practiced prior to the event. It is a short 30-second speech about your professional experience and your goals. Your elevator pitch may change depending on who you are speaking with. For example, an employer versus a colleague, your elevator pitch may slightly be different. As for the name elevator pitch, it comes from the rough amount of time you would have to talk to someone on an elevator. I bet you've never considered elevators as prime networking opportunities. Keep in mind there is always room for improvement with an elevator pitch. It should be practiced before, during, and after an event and updated periodically. As your experience changes and your goals shift, the more you practice and say it out loud, the better it gets. Here is an example of an elevator pitch. Hello, my name is Emily and I'm a financial advisor with over 5 years experience in helping clients plan for their future. My expertise is in relationship building and I have successfully developed plans that recently resulted in 10 clients achieving early retirement, 50 families putting their children through university, and 20 clients buying their first homes. I have a strong work ethic and a passion for seeing my clients succeed. Once you've done all this prep work, it's time for you to attend an event. You've done your research, connected with some people prior to the event, and have a list of people you want to connect with during the event. You've also got your elevator pitch prepared and ready to use when you're ready to start networking with people at the event. Because networking events can be hectic with so many things going on at one time, always ask if you could have the person's business card to help you remember to connect after the event. Remember to connect with those who you would like to develop and nurture a relationship with, those you want to learn from, and people you may have follow-up questions for. You can connect by using an online platform like LinkedIn, or you can send them an email. Okay, now it's time for another polling question. Of these strategies, which one do you think is most effective? A, researching attendees before an event. B, connecting with attendees after an event. C, staying connected. D, preparing an elevator pitch. E, all of the above. Or F, none of the above. As we are waiting for everyone to submit their answers, we would like to introduce you to Professional Immigrant Networks, or PINs. This is a great organization for you to start building your professional network. PINs is a professional association for immigrants and led by immigrants. Here is what their website looks like. Now, let's watch a short video to learn more.
The Professional Immigrant Network, or PINS initiative, is a community of immigrant associations, employers, and service providers that work together to support immigrant associations and help their members connect to meaningful employment. We build the capacity of immigrant associations through opportunities to learn, share, and take action. Leaders learn skills to develop their organization and support their members in finding meaningful employment. We develop and empower leaders of immigrant groups to strengthen their voice and create opportunities for employers to connect to a new pool of skilled immigrant talent for recruitment purposes. We create connections between professional immigrant associations and skilled immigrants, employers, and employment service providers. And we strengthen immigrant associations so they can better help their members connect to meaningful employment. PINs, Professional Immigrant Networks, building connections for skilled immigrant employment.
That was a great video about PINs. To learn more or to see what associations are available for you to explore, make sure you visit the PINs website at networksforimmigrants.ca. So now back to our polling question. Of these strategies, which one do you think is most effective? The correct answer is E. We're happy that all of this is making sense. Next up, we'll be sharing a testimonial from Marcella Chen. What you see on the screen is some advice from her, but we'll also share a bit of her background story. Marcella is a PINS leader and president for Exatech Ontario. She came to Canada in 2013 and had found Exatech Ontario through wanting to connect with people from her community. This association, Exatech Ontario, was founded as an alumni association of a university in Mexico and is targeted to all different professions, including engineering, architects, business, human resources, and IT professionals who are now living in Ontario. Marcella didn't start as a PINS leader, but eventually became one where she continues to demonstrate her skills and abilities as well as participate in quarterly meetings. Through one of those meetings, she connected with another PINS member who eventually recommended her for a career opportunity. Through that connection and recommendation, Marcella secured her current role as a student and employment coordinator for ICTC. Additionally, she is now a member of the PINS Advisory Committee. To read Marcella's full story, including additional advice, visit TRIAC's website at triac.ca. So just as a reminder, you will be receiving the PowerPoint so you can directly click on the links that we shared throughout this webinar. That was a fantastic testimonial, and it takes us right into the question and answer period of the webinar. There has been a lot of activity in the chat, and we've got some great questions to talk about. We'd like to thank you all for submitting your questions, and feel free to keep sending them in as we answer some of those that have already started. So to start us off, we have a question from an audience member who would like to know, if there aren't any upcoming events, how can you start networking online? That's a great question. One of the best ways to start networking online is to develop a strong LinkedIn profile and then start joining some of the professional groups that exist on LinkedIn. As an example, I have used LinkedIn to connect to a variety of professional groups for adult education and nonprofit management. If you are an ICTC professional, you can find groups on LinkedIn for that, or as an engineer, you can find groups that connect engineers. There are professional groups on LinkedIn for almost every type of career you can imagine. You can also connect on LinkedIn with the alumni group of your university and start making connections that way. Great. Our next question is, can PCPI help to get me a job before my credentials have been assessed?
Absolutely, and we would love for you to apply to see us so that we can assist you with that. What we would like you to do is connect with us, and we're going to give you the contact information just in a few moments to let us know what it is that you are interested in doing. We will set you up with a career coach who will spend the time with you to create a plan of action and assist you with your goals for employment.
Our next question comes from another audience member. They want to know, how can you recognize people's true intentions while networking? So I think one of the best ways to approach networking is to think about the value that other people can add to your career and the value that you can add to their career. Sometimes you can see people's true motivation by the types of questions they ask or the requests they make. As we mentioned earlier in the webinar, you want to avoid asking for things right away, especially job offers. If someone at a networking event asks you for a job or only talks about themselves without asking you any questions, this might not be the right relationship to focus on building. I think this next question is for you again, Chanel. What is the first step in connecting with PCPI?
Okay, so connecting with PCPI, you can go directly to our website, again, www.pcpi.com. You can also email me, and you're going to see my email on another slide, but it is linton@careerplan.net. You may also contact us at 416-439-8448 to speak directly with our receptionist, who will listen to your interest and direct you to the appropriate area.
Excellent. Our next question is, what are some unique and promising networking techniques and opportunities that would actually work and get us a job? Shauna Marie, did you want to take a stab at that? Sure. So as we discussed throughout the webinar, the point of networking is not just about getting a job. It's about building meaningful, lasting, mutually beneficial relationships one person at a time. We've said that definition a lot, but we really believe in that, and that's what you need to focus on when you're networking. It's natural as a job seeker that the focus of your networking would relate to finding a job, but that can't be your only motivation. Set smaller goals for each networking event that can help build your career over the long term and, yes, potentially lead to career opportunities. Your goal can be as simple as talking to 10 new people, collecting 3 business cards to follow up with, or learning about a company you haven't heard of before. Great. So our next question goes back to Chanel. Are there any fees to pay for the services offered by PCPI?
Absolutely not. There are no fees associated with any of the programs and services that we offer at PCPI. As a matter of fact, we make sure that whatever it is that you're interested in, we can assist you with absolutely no cost or little cost. We definitely want to take in consideration that when people are not working, it is very difficult for them to, of course, pay for different services. You may come across some opportunities that you are interested in with affiliate programs or programs that we can refer you to. But once again, we try our best to make sure that you do not pay any fee.
Our next question is, what is a less intimidating face-to-face networking method for shy people? So I think one of the things to keep in mind as you're networking is that most people don't like networking. When you walk into a room full of people, a lot of people may seem really confident and outgoing at first, but they're probably just as shy as you on some level. One of the things that I like to focus on when I go networking is think about my experience, my skills, my educational background, and really try to stand confidently in my experience. When I'm talking to people, I like to refer back to that experience, and it sort of builds my confidence to think about all the things that I've accomplished. Especially as a skilled immigrant, even as a shy person, think about all the things that you've accomplished and all the risks that you've taken to get to Canada and to ultimately end up where you are at this networking event. I think that focusing on the message and what your end goal is a really good way to do networking. Also, we don't want to forget networking online has really increased in sort of our society today. So you can definitely take advantage of networking opportunities on LinkedIn or by getting those business cards and reaching out to people afterwards online if you're more comfortable that way. So our next question, I think we covered this during our webinar presentation. The question comes from an audience member who asks, how do I build a relationship with people who I've never met? Okay, that's definitely a tricky question, and it all relates back to your messaging. I think that's where, when we send the slides out, have a look at the examples that we provided here. Make sure that your messages, whether it's on LinkedIn or email, that they're really targeted. You're telling people why you're interested in connecting with them. What is it about their experience, their career journey that has inspired you to reach out and learn more? Then let them know what your goal is. What are you interested in? What about their career path do you want to emulate in your career path? Give your contact information. Don't ask for too much. Don't ask for a job right off the bat. And more often than not, you'll get positive responses back from people. A good follow-up question to that an audience member is asking is to say, is it okay to say that you're unemployed while networking? You know what, that's something that I think comes up a lot, and it also relates to having those gaps on your resume. I'll ask Chanel in a minute, but one of the strategies that I would recommend is focus on something else that you're doing while you're unemployed. For example, if you are an engineer and you're not currently working, are you taking classes online maybe? Are you volunteering? Are you doing professional development activities that you can speak about instead of just saying that you're not employed? You can also introduce yourself saying that you're currently looking for new opportunities so that it doesn't sound like you're not doing anything to sort of build your career at the moment, even though you're not employed. Chanel, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I want to say, Shauna, you're right on the money with that. But for some people, it can be really difficult, especially if the reason why you're not working ended off on a really bad note. If that's the situation that you're having, then I encourage you to contact a professional, PCPI, why not PCPI? And come over to see us. We'll spend some time with you to actually formulate something that you are comfortable with, something that feels natural, and something that you can transition depending on whoever it is that you're speaking to. Because we do know that this takes a lot of work for some, and we want to be there to support you during that.
Great. There was someone in the audience member who had made a comment. I'm going to read it out loud and see if you guys have any other comments or suggestions. The comment is, networking works best with individuals from the same culture or ethnic background. I found over the years that a Chinese association will better network with Chinese immigrants rather than someone from a different group. Do you have any thoughts about that? Do you agree, disagree, or any additional advice?
Well, I think it's a great place to start if it's where you're comfortable, because through that comfort level, you get to develop a skill, a style in your networking. However, I would encourage you to eventually, at some point, kind of venture out from that comfort zone. The reason for that is limiting yourself to just any one particular group, belief system, is going to obviously limit who you can reach. And if this person can assist you in your employment goals or other goals through networking, then that's great, but you're going to find at some point in time it would be nice to add others from different areas to your networking group.
Yeah, I think I would echo what Chanel has said, and also think about it in terms of, in Canada, the employment world, companies and most organizations, they're not set up according to, race or culture. So in order to have access to the entirety of the Canadian labor market and all of the jobs that are available, you really are going to have to branch outside of your comfort zone and interact with the wealth of people that Canada has to offer. Great answers, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have time for 2 more questions. The question is, why is networking so important to get a job in Canada? Shauna Marie, did you want to take a stab at this one again? Sure. So networking is important to find career success in Canada. I think because Canadian employers don't just look at your academic and professional experience when deciding if they're going to hire you. Employers like to know that you'll be a good fit for their teams, that maybe you're easy to get along with, and someone who really understands their company and its unique needs. Networking broadens the circle of professionals you know in Canada and can sometimes provide you with a larger pool of people to speak to employers on your behalf or introduce you to an employer who might be looking for someone with your skills and expertise. Networking also shows that you have made an effort to be part of the professional landscape in Canada and that you're ready to take the next step in your career journey. The last question, why do people not respond to requests on LinkedIn when people are trying to connect?
Sure. I actually think that's because quite often when you're trying to reach out to someone, people don't think of the target reason behind it. And when you don't have a target, then everything that you say can be kind of too broad for the person to connect with. If you spend some time in advance perfecting what it is that you want to do and then what you want to say, this may actually help the other person envision what kind of relationship they can build with you or how they can help you. So my advice would be to just spend some time developing what you want to put down, what you want to say, what your requests are, and what you hope to get out of the relationship before you make your connection. That may help a little bit with that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great answer. And it's also important to remember that LinkedIn is a networking tool. So as soon as you connect with someone, you potentially have access to all of the people that they have already done the work in building those relationships with. So as Chanel said, if you send a message to someone that isn't targeted, there's no specific goal, they don't really see how you can fit into their network, they're probably going to hesitate at giving you access to the rest of their network as well. I think that making those targeted messages and showing people how not only they can add value to you, but how you can add value to them and the rest of their network is a key part of getting responses on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, guys. That was a good question and answer period, and thank you everyone for submitting your questions. Before we close off the webinar, we'd like to encourage all of you to start practicing your networking skills. Chanel has kindly offered to help you develop your elevator pitch. So after this webinar, make sure to send an email to Chanel at linton@careerplan.net and sharing your best elevator pitch. This is a great opportunity for you to start practicing your networking skills and get feedback from an expert. Before we conclude, I'd like to turn it over to Chanel for some final thoughts from PCPI.
Thank you so much, Shauna Marie. I want to invite you to connect with me once again at PCPI to book an appointment for a LinkedIn review. Perhaps you want assistance updating your current LinkedIn account, more information on effective networking, one-on-one assistance to create and practice your elevator pitch, and any assistance you may need with resume reviews, interview practice, and anything else that you can come up with as well to reach your job search goals. So please send me an email at linkedin@careerplan.net, and we'll have a representative from PCPI send you a request to add you to our LinkedIn page.
As we conclude this webinar, we'd like to thank PCPI for collaborating with us. Chanel, it's been so great having you here.
Thanks. It's been great having you as well.
If any of you in the audience are interested in receiving invitations for future Global Talent Bridge webinars, newsletters, and networking events, especially our future collaborations with PCPI, feel free to email us at gtbcanada@west.org or pcpi@careerplan.net. We also want to extend our thanks to all of you for participating today. Thanks again, and we hope you'll join us next time.